Are you tired of dying in the Half Sword demo? Well, don't worry, because this is the video for you. Half Sword is a new game that just recently came out, and they have a demo and a playtest. Some people say that the demo is better than the playtest, and I might have to agree with them. The demo is not like the normal game. The normal game is where you basically 1v1 some other person with medieval weapons. The demo is more similar to kind of like a battle royale, where you go around and you loot weapons and fight enemies. The enemies are AI, by the way. But a big problem a lot of people are having is that they keep on dying to the AI enemies and they don't know how to do better. So this video is to teach you how to win. There are two different types and two different sizes of weapons. There are blunt weapons and sharp weapons. And there are one-handed weapons and two-handed weapons. First, we're going to go over blunt weapons. The optimal way to kill someone using a blunt weapon is first to swing low near their feet to kind of knock them down or at least get them off balance, then swing back the other way closer to their torso. I will show that again in slow-mo just so you can really get the feel of it. Blunt weapons are generally better than sharp weapons to get someone on the ground, but once they're on the ground, it's very difficult to kill them with a blunt weapon because you kind of just have to beat them to death. On the other hand, there are sharp weapons. Sharp weapons are better for all-around combat, for just fighting someone straight up. But if you want to get a quick kill easily on a weaker opponent, then you usually want to go for the neck, try to just slit their throat, which is very difficult to do, and usually you'll miss it, but I'll show you a clip right here of me doing it. Most weapons in the game are sharp weapons, and they're also probably the best kind of weapons to use because they're easiest to use and they're also the most powerful generally. There's a third kind of category to weapons, which is spike weapons is what I like to call them, except there's not very many of them, which is why I didn't include them originally, but I will show you how to use them. Spike weapons are basically something that you just use to stab. It's not very good for any other combat. What you want to do is very early in the fight, you want to try to get an easy stab in. Most spike weapons, if you hold right click, it'll put it up by your side, and then you can let go of right click and it'll thrust it forward. What I've found is that in the playtest, which is basically the actual game, spike weapons are very good against like players, but in the demo against AIs, for some reason they're just like crap. I'll put a clip here of me stabbing someone with a pitchfork or something, I don't know. Now for the two sizes of weapons. Like I said earlier, there are one-handed weapons and two-handed weapons. We'll go over two-handed weapons first. These weapons use both of your hands. There's two ways to hold them. If you hold down left click, generally your hands will be close together and you'll hold it to the side of your body. If you hold right click, then you'll hold with your hands far apart and it'll be down kind of near your waist. Obviously, the right click is better for short range combat and the left click is better for long range combat, but there's other two-handed weapons also, like the paddle and the pitchfork, that have very different controls that you kind of have to learn on your own outside of like this video because it's very complex. Now it's time to talk about one-handed weapons. One-handed weapons are a bit more versatile, but they're usually less strong. One-handed weapons, if you hold down left click, you will hold it with one hand and you will kind of like be able to swing it freely. If you hold down with right click, then you'll hold it with both of your hands, even though it's a one-handed weapon, and you have a bit more control and a bit more power, but it lacks the range that you do when you're holding down left click. You can also hold down E to sheath the weapon so you can save it for later, which is great because sometimes your enemy can knock your weapon out of your hand when you're holding a two-handed weapon, which is generally better than a one-handed weapon. And then you can unsheath your one-handed weapon and then fight with that so you don't just die. However, this makes you slower, and I've also noticed that sometimes if you fall a certain way, since this is a full like physics engine, you can take damage from falling on your own weapon. So I only recommend holding one sheath weapon, because if you have more, then you aren't really going to use them, because if you've already gotten your primary weapon knocked out of your hand and your secondary weapon knocked out of your hand, you're probably already low enough on health that you're just going to die anyway if you try to fight with your third weapon. So I recommend not having more than one sheath because it just slows you down. Now let's talk about weapons individually. Individual weapons are very complex in this game and it might be difficult for you to get a full understanding of it, but this is a basic guide for all weapons like pre the first boss. So the bad weapons that you want to avoid are both of the candlesticks. The short candlestick is just like terrible. It deals very little damage. It's just not good. I only recommend picking this up if like you're running away from the enemy and you drop all your weapons and you need to like grab something really quickly. And the long candlestick is so slow it's not even worth it because you can like swing once and then you're just gonna get pushed because you can't really fight. Those are the second and third worst weapons in the game, but the worst weapon in the entire game is the lantern. I tried really hard to get a kill with this so I could put it in the video, and I actually managed to do it. So please like leave a like and subscribe or something because that was pretty difficult to do. It's just all around terrible. I might actually recommend using your fists before trying to fight with a lantern. But then other than that, most like one-handed weapons you want less than like two-handed weapons, except for axes. Axes are better than some two-handed weapons. But as far as one-handed weapons go, just kind of the sickle is pretty bad, and some other like one-handed ones are pretty bad. The better ones are kind of like knives because they're fast, and then the best are like axes, like one-handed axes. For two-handed weapons, some of them are kind of bad. The pitchfork is pretty terrible, and I know that's going to be a controversial opinion, but that's mostly from people who haven't played the demo and have only played the playtest. Because in the playtest, the pitchfork is really good, but in the demo, the pitchfork is really bad. Also, you have the club, which is not very good, but on the other end, there's like the two-handed axe is really good. There's also this thing that I like to call the backwards axe. I don't know what it's actually called, but it looks like an axe that's backwards. It's pretty good, but it's not as good as the two-handed axe. The best weapon before boss 1 is the two-handed axe, and the best sheath, like sidearm, is the one-handed axe. Just go full axe. Also, when you kill the first boss, do not pick up the scythe. Contrary to popular belief, the scythe is really bad. Just putting that out there. Just one more quick thing I want to go over before I get to the next part of this video. After you beat boss 1, the enemies start coming in 2s instead of 1s. So don't be like I am in this playthrough that I'm showing in the background right now. Be ready for a second opponent to appear. That's pretty much all. Also, one thing I forgot to say when I was going over weapons, as soon as you beat a boss, start picking up weapons from the next level. And I'm not talking like the same weapons from the level before that are just still there, but start picking up things like that weren't like weapons that you could get before, because they have better stats. They're just infinitely better. Like if you see a sword on the ground after you beat like the second boss, then pick that up. Don't keep your long axe because the sword is better. Now I'm going to show you a full playthrough. This one did a lot better than the one that I'm showing in the background here. I just want to talk while I'm doing it and tell you what I'm doing so that you can get better at the game. So my first drop that I get before I have to fight any enemies is a chest, and inside the chest is only a knife. So I'm immediately thinking that this run's kind of cooked because a knife isn't that great of a weapon, and I don't have anything else to defend myself other than the knife. But I just go with it, and you'll see how it goes. Like I showed earlier, that quick swipe to the neck with a sharp weapon is very easy, very quick way to win. On my next drop, I get another chest, and inside that chest are shoes. I don't really know what the shoes do. I think they might make you faster, but I'm not sure. They also apply a small amount of armor to your feet, but it's small, and you aren't really going to be getting hit in the feet a whole lot. So these aren't a super good item, but I still take them because why not? Swipe to the neck again, and I can't show this part because it's a bit gory, but you get the image. This time I try to hit a swipe to the neck, but I actually miss it and I hit him around his arm, which knocks him over, but then he still survives, so I have to finish him off. I have to blur this part too. In the next chest, I get a one-handed axe, which, like I said earlier, is the best one-handed weapon in the game and is better than some two-handed weapons. This is an extremely good pull. I'm happy about this. Obviously, since this is such a good weapon, it's really easy to use. You just kind of throw a swipe and they'll usually die. However, make sure you finish them off after you kill them. Don't let them like kind of live on the ground, because sometimes they'll like stand back up like you can see here, and they'll try to fight you again, which if you ignore that and like turn away and start running away, then they can actually come back and kill you, which is a major problem. So make sure you're finishing them off. All I get from this loot is just shoes, which I already have, so I don't pick them up. This guy actually does a lot of damage to me. Make sure you're watching out for those enemies that have knives, because they can stab you and that does a lot of damage. All we get from this loot is a paddle, which is one of those two-handed weapons that I was talking about earlier that actually isn't even as good as the one-handed axe, so I don't pick it up, and then I get attacked by this guy, but I make easy work of him. Here I tried to finish him off, but he was already dead. It's easy to tell if someone's dead or not by if they make that like choking sound. If they make that choking sound, then they're dying. This is an amazing loot pull because the helmet is actually overpowered. It basically blocks all damage to your head, and the shirt gets rid of a whole lot of damage from sharp weapons. Like if you get stabbed, they can't also slice you. Like stabbing damage still happens, but if they try to like, if their weapon rubs across like your chest, then it doesn't deal a bit damage because it can't get through the shirt. Then I get another helmet with another shirt, which is actually super lucky. I don't know how I got two in a row, but since I already have them, I don't need this. But here we go again with another loot pull. This is what I like to call the backwards axe. I don't know what it's actually called. It just looks like a long axe, but backwards. It's probably the second best weapon in the game before Boss 1. It's not as good as the normal long axe, though. But I do take it because it's a very good weapon. No good loot on this table. There is a hat, which if you don't have a helmet, then pick that up. It's kind of like a helmet, except it does a lot less for you. But other than that, there's like nothing good on this table. So I just skip that. Now we're on to Boss 1, and we're looking very good. I'm happy with this start. Of course, we don't have pants, which is less armor for our legs. And we don't have the best weapon in the game, but we have the second best weapon in the game before Boss 1. So this is honestly a very good start to the first boss fight. The boss has a whole lot of health, so you may think you've killed him, except when he's laying on the ground. Except he's actually still alive, and he'll stand up and he'll chase you down and kill you. So what you want to make sure that you do, like even if you knock out his scythe, he has backup weapons. You'll get a little notification at the top of the screen with that little dude looking down on you. You only get that when you've killed the boss and he can't fight anymore. So keep on hitting him until you get that notification, or else he'll come back and kill you. We don't pick up the boss's sight because despite popular belief, it's actually not that good. Now we're on to stage 2, and in stage 2, instead of getting one enemy every time you fight someone, you'll get 2. So you might like kill one and then you'll start looting, and then all of a sudden you get killed because they come in pairs. But sometimes they're a bit separated out, so once you kill one, you have to wait for the other. We also don't pick up these guys' spears because spears are not good in this game. We wait for a better weapon from Area 2. I also had to censor this because it's very gory, and I also cut a large part out because I was trying to get this mace that this dude had in his pocket because I thought it was on the ground, but he actually had it sheathed, which for some reason means I can't pick it up, which is kind of stupid. And I just struggled with that for a while because I thought I could pick it up. Also, I forgot to mention that I found pants while I was looting. I actually didn't forget to mention that. I was saying other stuff that was more relevant at the time. But that does apply a level of armor to our legs, so we can't really get cut as bad there. Then I find a long axe in the barrel behind me that was just kind of sitting there, which, like I said earlier, is the best weapon in the game before Boss 1, but I still haven't found a Area 2 weapon, which is kind of sad, and I'm continuing to search for a good one. As you can see here, one of the guys that I killed dropped a mace, which is amazing. It's not as good as the long axe, so I won't be using it as my primary, but I will sheath it because it's better than the short axe. I deal with the next fight, and then I find it. The Area 2 short axe, the best weapon in Area 2. And so I obviously picked that up. That's my new main, of course, with this mace as my secondary. And now I'm set. It's looking like a very good run. The Area 2 axe just produces absolute carnage. It deals a ton of damage. It chops off limbs super easily. You can just watch this fight. I end up having a bit of trouble getting my axe out of this dude's foot, but eventually I get it over with. I finish these guys off, and then I move on to the next fight. So now I'm on to boss 2. And boss 2, in my opinion, is actually super easy. You just kind of have to get a good hit in first, and you win. And he drops a very good weapon. He drops a sword. I do recommend picking it up. However, the next part is probably the hardest part in the game I've ever encountered because I've never been able to get past it, which is boss 2's bodyguards. These two guys are like impossible to kill because they work together and they both have long axes. I've never gotten past this, and so let me know how you do. So that's the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you learned a lot and are now better at the game because you know what to do. Please go watch another video, like, subscribe. That would be fantastic, and have a nice day. Goodbye.